Hey guys, I wanted to make a short little YouTube video. This my last one went for 20 minutes, and I didn't really need to do it that long. So I have an Arkanoid clone, as you can see, and yeah, I'm just gonna make this really simple and say screw it and just tell you guys really quickly. So this video is about people who want to be able to call in functions only once per update or once per event in an update. And the easiest way to do that is using booleans. And if you want, you can have integers. Like that's what I do with my health count. These only get called once if the integer equals a value, and if it doesn't equal that value, then it's not getting called. And the reason that's good is because if you have something that's static, and it can only be affected outside of the update function with like a collision on enter collision 2D, or something where it's a like a button press or some stuff like I have on my paused. I didn't set this as a boolean just because I was being lazy, but I mean it still works because it won't it just does public float pause count, and it just adds the pause count. If the pause count's less than 0, then it calls this once for the tutorial in the beginning of the game. So I'm going to show you this in practice quick. I've already set this up, I've already written it, but I'll walk you through it. So here's Layer Manager, right? Now, when I update every frame, I want to check if the amount of children on the list is less than or equal to 0. As you can see, there's a lot of children. So this is the easiest way to do it. There's other ways to count the amount of children. Like you can have something to where you add an array, or you can have it where you set in a tag counter, like I have here, breakable. There's a whole lot of ways that you can count objects, but child count is really easy for what I'm trying to do because I want to have a staged boss system, and I'm going to animate this and make it all look a little better. But yeah, so I have it check if the transform for the child count is less than 0. This is a really good thing to know, by the way. Probably one of the most important call events, because let's pretend I want to make armor pieces in a game for an enemy or yourself, and I want to check in, I want to have a variable that counts how much damage is on it. Well, if it gets destroyed, it can affect your stats if you have it where the child count gets included. Now, granted, that's not like great if you want to like store the defense modules and or like your variables in like an array system to where it can be set up as a integer class, and then it can just like count everything up, and then you have your stats that affect your defense. What if the armor piece has higher defense and it's like a helmet piece versus boots or a chest piece, and the chest piece is going to have the most defense. Obviously, you don't want the helmet and the chest piece to take away the same amount of defense. So, but really, roughly speaking, though, it could be really good, um, especially if you want to have some sort of child count on like a hand transform where there's a weapon. Well, if there's no weapon, then that would mean child count's less than 0, and now it would be like player dot, strength stats multiplied or divided by whatever, and then that would be your new damage. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So okay, let's get back to the main part. So if the child's count less than 0, then it's going to deactivate this layer 1 that you're currently on, and it's going to activate layer 2. And then layer 2 has its own set of children, which I'm not done with any of these layers yet. And then is called is going to oh yeah, sorry. And if is called equals false, which is its default setting, then it will call health. Call health is going to my lose collider, which is to add 1 health, the variable I have in that, and then that will make is called equals true. So now it's been called once, but now it can't be called again because now this isn't true. So essentially, if you ever want to have something where there's a limited amount of calls in an update, you have to make a boolean. There's really no way around it unless you do something that's constantly counting up or down with the max put into it. So for example, I have another thing over here. I just keep going with it is. So I have float heart meter 1 charge max is 100. Can't get above 100. Well, if the charge is greater or equal to 100, then it has to return the function that's charging up the actually, where did I put it? Oh, here we go. If it's above 100 charge, it will add in this and charge is less than 100. Oh yeah. So in other words, you just have it to where it has to be an if statement. So if it's less than this, then it will keep updating. But once it hits above it, it stops updating. It's the easiest way to do it. I don't do less than or equal to because I don't really mind a couple points of overflow on meters. Now, if it's a health meter, obviously you want to make it to where it has to be precise. And um, then if it goes above, like for example, if charge or if this variable is greater than 100, then you would have current charge equals max charge. Or sorry, yeah, equals max charge. So that way it can't overflow. So you just change it to where it has to equal whatever you set the max charge to. Pretty simple. And then, so have it call this health, and this adds in 1 health, and it calls that, it becomes false. It becomes true, and then it has to update it again. Well, on the second layer, which is the last one before the third, it will call whether or not the child counts less than 0 or 0. And if it is, then it deactivates the second layer and activates the third layer. And then is called will equal false, so it can call this once. And then, bam, it's pretty simple. You just have to set up booleans. This is kind of a long video, but I want to sidetrack a little bit because there's a lot of like little things that a lot of newer programmers don't know. Like for example, you don't have to make a public object layer 1 and then public game object layer 2 and then public game object layer 3. You can literally list it and it works. And it's a easier way to essentially make like, I almost want to say like variable arrays on on an object. I don't know how to really word it. So this way I can just add in, 1 through 5 if I want, and it's just easy. Like, paddle, I got quite a few things on here. I have actually no, I have more things in my loose collider, funny. My loose collider is I where is it? Where is it? Here we go. Yeah, my loose collider has a lot of different things to keep track of itself. And I still have the temp hearts, even though I'm not using those at the moment. Temp hearts are hearts that don't charge, but you gain them with your add 1 life. I'm thinking I'm going to add those still, and I'm just going to have them as extra health. And then this way, you'll get like your blue little mini hearts up in the top here. And then if you lose them, they won't affect your main hearts until all of them are gone. Which, I think will be really good for much later levels when the game gets a lot harder. Well, that's about it, I guess. I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. If there's anything else with programming you guys want to know, tell me. I know C Sharp, C++. I'm learning Python right now. It's actually pretty simple compared to the C languages, in my opinion. It's a lot more like of the basic format, which is good though because that means it's easier to grasp and it's easier to get into, I guess. And then Java. But I do mostly use the C languages because, I'm trying to do game development. So yeah, if you guys need to know anything, let me know. Hopefully I get a couple of subscribers. Smash that subscriber button. And yeah, I'll just seriously leave a comment and request of what you want to know how to do. And I'll teach you how to do it. Well, have a super day, guys.